first speaker tonight, Kelly Weill. Weill is a journalist at the Daily Beast, where she covers extremism, disinformation, and the internet, so basically everything that matters today. She's a leading voice on the role of online conspiracy theories, and she's discussed everything from flat Earth to other digital fringes on ABC, CNN, Al Jazeera, and many other news outlets. She's written, "As a journalist, I've always loved exploring fringe cultures online. When I discovered the flat Earth community, I was determined to go all the way down the rabbit hole to understand what makes people believe the impossible." Here to take us down a rabbit hole, please welcome Kelly Weill.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Kelly Weill. I am a reporter at the Daily Beast and the author of Off the Edge, a new book about the flat Earth movement and conspiracy theories in general. Before I get started, I kind of wanted to take a temperature check here. Who believes we live on a globe? Can I get a show of hands? Okay, now see, that is the correct answer. I'm very glad to see that. But tonight, I want to take you to a place where not only would that answer make you very unwelcome, it might have made you the subject of an investigation by a vigilante Bible patrol. I am talking about Zion, Illinois. Not Zion as it exists today, which is a very charming small city outside Chicago, but Zion in the early 1900s. At the time, it was a considerably less welcoming place. It was what we might charitably call a close-knit religious community, or less charitably, America's first ever flat Earth cult. While I was writing this book, a lot of people asked me, are flat Earthers for real? Is this kind of all a big prank that they're playing? I'm here to tell you that they are completely serious and that they don't take kindly to being called a joke. Most members of this conspiracy community believe that we live on a pancake-shaped planet. They think it's surrounded by a ring of ice and enclosed in a dome, almost like a big snow globe. And this theory is really potent for its believers. They're very serious. Now, Zion at the time of its founding was under the control of a religious movement called the Christian Catholic Apostolic Church. Everyone involved in that religious movement is dead, so I can say without fear of legal repercussions that this was a Jonestown-level fraud. It started off as a faith-healing movement. They would travel the country, going city to city, pretending to cure people of cancer. By around 1900, they had amassed enough money to start a city of their own, where their religious leaders would have control of the law and the land and people's houses and businesses. They did this because they said they wanted to have a society that was grounded in a biblical vision. But critically, they weren't specific enough about exactly whose biblical vision they would be following. And this would pose an issue because flat earthers also believe that they have a biblically based theory. They think that the Bible is secretly a flat earth text, and that globe belief is not just wrong, but it is heretical. This would prove fateful to Zion because a couple years after its founding, the church came under the control of a preacher named Wilbur Valva, a notorious flat earther. Valva is an interesting guy. He had about two passions. One was flat earth. The other appeared to be banning anything fun. As soon as he took over, he banned the usual vices, your drinking, smoking, gambling, as well as some more commonplace joys. He banned movies and makeup and shellfish, pork, doctors, driving more than 5 miles an hour, whistling, dancing, bathing within 50 feet of your spouse, which is oddly specific. And he also had more strict rules even for himself. He claimed to live on a diet of nothing but Brazil nuts and buttermilk. A local reporter asked him about it at one point, and he said that not only would that diet let people live to be 120 years old, but it would give them the clarity of mind to embrace flat Earth. And I am actually sure he's correct on that front. Because flat Earth was his other passion. After Valva took power, he banned the globe in town. He had his church rewrite hymns and remove any references that sounded just a little bit too pro-sphere. He removed the globe from public school classrooms and instituted a new flat earth curriculum. That last bit got him in some trouble with the state. The schools were still under the control of the Department of Education, which said, can he do that? I don't think that squares with the state geography curriculum. And Valva said, okay, yeah, I hear you, no problem. I'll just ban the schools. So he basically did. He dissolved the public schools and instituted a new set of private, church-run, K through 12 flat earth institutions. He even, on this front, favorably compared himself to Hitler, who was on the ascent. He said that he learned from Hitler to make the youth take loyalty pledges to him so that they would grow into loyal adults. But he was a very savvy political actor. Just like he avoided government control by removing the schools from public purview, he avoided electoral defeat by never actually holding public office. Valva ruled from the pulpit and from behind closed doors, giving orders to mayors and sheriffs and city council members who were blindly loyal to him. He even had his own private police force. They wore helmets with the word patience written on top, and they carried Bibles in their holsters. And if anybody thinks that sounds like a really friendly uniform, this was actually a notoriously brutal police force. There are reports of them sweeping trains that passed through the town and arresting people who broke the very strict local laws. So, as you can imagine, this secretive society was not really friendly to outsiders. Zion had an electrical plant within the city limits and was staffed by a number of people who weren't members of the church. Rather than view this as a recruitment opportunity and embrace these workers into the community, members of the church instead built a big metal cage outside the factory. And they would stand in there and safely heckle the workers as they went in and out of their daily work. This led to a number of really arcane but violent conflicts. At one point, the workers brought eggs into work so that they could throw them at the cage on their way in. A number of pioneering pastors, shall we say, tried to set up shop in Zion, tried to make a few converts of Valva's flock, but that proved to be actually quite difficult because every time they did that, Valva would set up a huge billboard outside the new church with paragraph-long screeds attacking these other preachers. There's some really colorful language. If anyone wants to incorporate it into their daily vocabulary, he called these rival preachers, quote, an old tomcat, a big old blatherskite, a discredited windbag, and my favorite is Little Granny Grinny Goodkins, which was directed at one particular rival. So I wish I could tell you that this hostile and quite paranoid community fell apart quickly. But that's not what happened. People didn't just suddenly see through Valva. He used conspiracy theories to control people. Not only did he use flat Earth to set Zion apart from the rest of the world, but he was a big promoter of conspiracy theories about election fraud. You see where it's going. Early on in his tenure with Zion, Valva faced a very real electoral challenge. A number of his preferred candidates narrowly lost their campaigns. And rather than accept defeat, Valva said that there had been a massive scheme to discredit him. He said that people from Chicago, these evil liberal globalists, had snuck over into the town and voted against him. He said that he was getting a number of big city lawyers to challenge the results, but before he could even do that, some of Valva's supporters stormed City Hall and got into an hours-long fist fight over the ballot boxes. Valva and his supporters retook power, and they held it for several decades. He only really lost power late in his life when he was suffering a number of health issues that we might speculatively credit to his diet of Brazil nuts and buttermilk. In the final years before his death, when he was on the decline, the city was finally able to rebuild public schools, and critically, they put a globe in nearly every single classroom. Today, Zion is really no different from any other small Midwestern city with a firm basis in a globe reality. But its history and a recent boom in conspiracy thinking should remind us that truth is not always a given. It's part of an ongoing project, and if we want to continue believing in a globe and other reality-based universes, it's one that we have to fight for. Thanks.